I've been struggling lately. And when I say lately, I mean at least the last 8 to 9 months. Well, personally, in my day-to-day life, I've actually never been better. Praise the Lord for that. But I'm married to a wonderful woman. We're expecting what I'm sure is going to be a beautiful little girl. We've just managed to considerably upgrade our living spaces to a rather spacious 2-room apartment. So, and I'm not saying all this to brag, just because it's really interesting how, even though, as far as my everyday, day-to-day life is concerned, job and all, personal stuff and all, I've actually never been better. I have been struggling quite a lot for a fair bit of time. And I've been struggling creatively with my photography. Let me pour myself some of Hop Hooligan's Canon Fire. Really dark, really lovely coconut porter. Some of the best beer I've ever had. Fantastic color. Just look at it. Very dark, and this is with light shining through because, yeah, I've got a light. Fantastic color, excellent flavor, strong coconut aromas. Oh, Jesus Christ Almighty. This is some of the best beer I've ever had. And I want to preface all this by saying this video is completely unscripted. Not that my other videos are, because it's just how I roll. So yeah, while I do know the gist of it, it's really kind of vague in my head, and all this is actually sort of like autotherapy, if there is such a thing. Kind of like I'm trying to put some order into my thoughts, because it's something I've been struggling with, and I want to get to the bottom of it. So kindly excuse me if I'm overly ranty, because this is going to be long and ranty. I wholly agree. I fully understand. If you click away right now, go ahead, do it. I'm hardly, if at all, going to talk about gear. There are going to be no photos in this video. I'm just gonna be sitting here having a pint and talking about my struggles with photography in the last almost full year. Still here? Well, if you are, thank you, and let's let's start talking. I'm first going to briefly touch upon my problem, only to come back and develop the idea a bit later, and then I'm going to kind of go back a little in order to hopefully clear my mind and hopefully get to the bottom of this. The struggles I mentioned are to do with feeling like I have lost it as far as my drive to do photography. It's like I've forgotten how to do it. It's like, to be frank, I never really knew how to begin with. I'm feeling clumsy, uninspired. I'm feeling very deep inside a creative rut. Very unmotivated to go out and shoot, and when I do go out and shoot, it's like, what am I doing? Almost like I forgot how to do it. So in order to perhaps make some sense out of all this, I asked myself, why am I even doing it in the first place? What is it about photography that interests me? Why am I taking photos? And by answering these questions, I'm hopefully going to revitalize my interest in it, although it's not my interest that has suffered, because throughout all this time, my interest has remained at decent levels. What hasn't was my actually putting it into practice. So let me go back a little and try to answer why I'm doing photography. Ever since I remember having my own thoughts and ideas, and ever since I started having the faintest idea about being a human being, a person living on this planet and in this world, I have had a creative drive. I have a creative side, and I need to do creative stuff. Starting at around I don't want to lie, but I think it was around 12 years old, thereabouts. It's when I started keeping a journal, and very soon after that I started writing poetry. So being creative, looking for a creative outlet for my thoughts, ideas, has always been a part of who I am. I wrote a lot all throughout my teens. I had my first computer when I was 20, so yeah, I had to keep busy, and I read a lot, I wrote a lot. I wrote poetry, I wrote very bad, admittedly, theater, dramaturgy. I attempted writing a novel, several short stories, and yet more, a lot of poetry. That subsided almost on its own, but gradually until completely. And around my very early 20s. I think it was 19 or 20 when I started getting into music, electronic music, drum and bass mainly, and it's then when I picked up DJing and electronic music production. At about the same time, I gave up writing completely, and this world of partying and making music sucked me in, and I had no choice in the matter. Don't get me wrong. I fully let myself be sucked in. I enjoyed every bit of it for a good decade, right until my very early 30s. I had been making music, DJing at parties and festivals, and overall living very modern clubbing and raving kind of lifestyle. That is to say, again, that my creative side and my creative needs were fulfilled, this time with music, and rather, I should say, by music. Now, I'm a bit of a tone-deaf person, so the way I did music was by kind of like almost hacking it. I used technology to my advantage. I used tuner VSTs and plugins on every track, and that allowed me to kind of put everything together into what sounded nice. I mean, I don't mean to be overly modest. I did some decent tracks. I had a few published, so yeah, I wasn't terrible at it. Far from good, but yeah, I wasn't terrible. I was doing all right. But it was eventually that I realized fully and categorically that I had reached my peak, having no formal musical training whatsoever, also having no knowledge of music theory and not being able to compose my own music using regular instruments like pianos and guitars and stuff. I realized I've done all that I can do, all that I could do, because the way I made music was using samples and synths and electronic stuff. I could not and still cannot play an instrument to save my life. So yeah, I eventually gave that up as well, because everything I did started feeling formulaic, starting feeling like I've developed like a template that worked, and all I ever did was songs according to that template. I quickly grew bored, uninspired, and let down by my own stuff. And it's then when I gave it all up. There was then a period where I did nothing but game. So yeah, that quickly became apparent that I had to pick up a creative endeavor. It's also then when I started becoming very interested in people. I used to love, and still do to a good extent, I used to love to do people watching. I traveled by public transport a lot, so I started taking pictures of people on the tram and started really paying a closer attention to people around me. And this was around 2010 to 2012, I think, when I just took snapshots of the things around me that interested me, and of the people around me. There was no technique to it. There was no how do you say, there was no method to the madness. I had no sort of discipline, no sort of knowledge or anything. I just took pretty bad snapshots of people and things that interested me. However, that sparked my interest in photography. Eventually I purchased cameras, and as they say, the rest is history. But I've talked about this part of my life to say that photography has been for kind of like the last decade my main creative outlet. Yet again, it's my thing. If in my early teens I was a poet, in my mid-teens I was a DJ, mid and late teens, let's say, I was a DJ and music producer. In my what is it now? I'm 40. Is this early adulthood, mid-life? Photography is my thing, and I'm hoping and I'm thinking it's going to remain my thing for the foreseeable future, because it is something I enjoy tremendously. I've talked a lot about this, and going back all the way to my very early childhood, because I wanted to drive across the point that I have a very strong creative drive. It's a very big thing that defines me and my personhood. It's not something, it's not a hobby, although it has all the characteristics of a hobby. It's not merely a hobby, it's a very strong need. I don't merely do this because I have too much free time on my hands. I do this because I need to. I need to feel like I'm doing something creative. I need to feel like I'm making something out of nothing, or rather, at the very least, making something out of little. Be that as it may, I have the strongest need, it's almost a compulsion at times, to express myself, to describe to others what I feel, what I see, and what I think. And I'm trying to do this with photography. That, coupled with my very real interest in people. I mean, I love people. It may not seem so. I'm a bit of a Grinch at times. The face certainly doesn't help, because I know I can seem intimidating, but deep down inside, I assure you, I'm a bit of a softie. So yeah, I'm very much interested in people. I love knowing about people. Even now, pretty much every chance I get, I try to take a very honest interest in other people's lives, and it's partly why I do photography, describing the world around me, letting the world know about the people I see and their lives and their surroundings and my city. I love Arad, I love this city I live in, although I often joke about it and call it a village with apartment buildings, which is, for better or for worse, Not that far from the truth, but I do love it, so I try to document my time on this planet. In a nutshell, that is why I do photography. It's my way of describing how I feel about the world, what I think of it, and how I'm living here. Now, let me have another sip. I'm not like having really outlandish expectations, but it does feel like it's been a long time since I've done any good photography. And not even that, because while the end result is what matters, the photograph is what matters. For me, a big part, a great part of photography is my experience getting to that end result. That's why I shoot film. Yeah, a bit of gear, because what's a photography video without some gear? This is the Olympus OM10 with a wonderful Zuiko 50mm f1.4. A really fantastic film camera. I have the Sony a7R II in my backpack, so that is to say that I love the tools, I love the process, I shit you not, I love feeling these tools in my hand. I love turning the focus ring, I love cranking up and winding the film, I love the knobs and levers, I love the very tactile experience of shooting these things. It makes me feel good. Men are said to be things people, while women are said to be people as far as their attractions and interests go, and I think that's true. Men love their things and their toys, and I love mine. And while going back a little to what I mentioned, the photograph, the end result is what matters. For me, a very big part of my enjoyment is using these tools and my experience getting to that end result. And I don't always expect to come back with great photos, but I do always expect to have fun doing it. There have been times when I had a great, jolly good time walking the streets, stopping for a beer here and there, talking to people and taking photos, and formatting the entire card home because I took no good photos, and that's perfectly fine. I'm left with a nice time out, I'm left with the memories, I'm left with a good experience. But it seems like recently I'm without even that, because I have very little motivation to go out shooting, and when I do go out shooting, it's like I've forgotten how to do it. I'm uninspired, I'm distracted, I'm finding it really tough to focus, and it's like I don't see pictures anywhere. I don't find anything that interests me. There's nothing that gets my attention. It's really, really not cool. This thing saddens me a lot. And I've almost begun feeling somewhat frustrated with it all because, you know, and this is perhaps part of the issue. I've also struggled a lot, and this is for as long as I remember. I've struggled a lot with discipline. I'm the type of person that struggles to do things because they have to. And I'm finding I'm having to learn to do this now as a grown-up and husband and soon-to-be father. I no longer have the luxury to do things when I feel like doing them. There are a lot of things that you just need to do them because you need to do them, and that's that. Grow up. But it's not something that I've been used to, and I've always used my inner drive and feeling of creative spark and inspiration to drive my actual doing of the stuff. And that has left me, I think, in a position where lacking all that, I'm not able to do it. And if I had been better adjusted and with a stronger sense of discipline, lacking the motivation and the creative drive to do things, I would have been still able to go out and shoot due to the exercise of doing it, because I'm really doubting it that people that excel at things, be them whatever, athletes, writers, scientists, artists, did I say that already? Photographers. Yeah, I'm really not as naive as I'm sounding in thinking that people that excel at things, people that really do perform, just only rely on creativity and the vibe, you know, and the feels and the groove. Well, those things are nice to have and certainly a boost. I don't think I did right when I only went with that. I should have created for myself a stronger sense of discipline where I just went out regardless of feeling like it or not. Just going through the paces, exercising. Perhaps even creativity is like a muscle. Who knows? Maybe you need to exercise your creativity. Maybe you need to exercise the vibes and the grooves and the feels, yeah? I have a strong hunch it's what I need to do, but it's a struggle. It's tough. I haven't been, and while that is a subject for an entirely different video, perhaps even an entirely different channel, but to keep it short, all throughout my 20s and half of my 30s, I've lived a very hectic type of life where discipline and the adulting part of life was not something I did. So I'm sat here with kind of like having to reinvent myself, learn how to do things just for the sake of I mean in a grown-up adult kind of way, doing them because you have to, and thinking in the long run and thinking at the end result, and not thinking that I don't feel like it today, the weather's not perfect, the sun doesn't shine in that direction, and my favorite jeans are in the washer, I'm tired, it's better than I game a little. All those things have kept me from actually going out shooting, and I think it left me in a state where I'm severely lacking discipline, and therefore I'm here where I'm struggling with actually doing it recently. Now today I've taken a few days off from work because just because I can, frankly. And today I went out, did a bit of grocery shopping, did a bit of shooting, and it has been all right. Not great, but it has been all right. So it was also when, and I've been thinking about this, while I'm talking to you here, for many, many weeks. And at one point I kind of gave up the struggle, kind of almost like sighed a sigh of release and said, it is what it is, come what may. It's not something you can force. Although I just talked about how some things you have to do them because it's the right thing to do and not necessarily because it's something you feel like doing. So I'm not sure. I'm brainstorming. I'm trying to speak at the same time while I'm thinking about this, and all this is an effort in understanding all this, and I'm really, really hoping to hear from you down in the comments. I know all artists go through creative block, and I know the theory behind it. I mean, I've seen quite a few videos on it, I've read quite a bit on it, and yeah, there are things you can do to get out of it, and I think I'm a bit past that point because it's starting to feel a little chronic, where like it feels like I'm so deep in that if I don't get out soon, I might not be able to get out at all. And I've tried to keep myself interested in photography by buying stuff. That didn't go well. I bought quite a few lenses recently. Some of them I will end up keeping. Some of them have already been sold, and some of them went directly into my drawer, never to come back out again. So I thought that maybe I need better or different gear to reignite my interest. I was wrong. I spent a lot of time looking for cameras to buy and switching systems and trading my Sony for Olympus or Fujifilm, and I am still looking for perhaps a fixed lens compact to buy, or maybe a very small Olympus digital. But all that is in an effort to reignite my interest. I'm not sure it's the way to take, but it's something I tried. I tried making videos, and that has been going okay-ish. Well, I'm not putting out as many videos as I'd like, as often as I'd like. I'm able to maintain a decent enough pace. So that's that. Focus, Radu, focus. I've also gone into publishing my first photo book, and that's another story for another video, but to keep things short and simple, it's something that hopefully ends up being a thing soon enough, but that hasn't been without quite some hefty challenges, because I'm now in the talks with the second publisher, because the first one didn't manage to live up to my expectation as far as quality goes, and to be frank, my expectations are moderate. I am not looking for the best in the business. I'm just looking for something decent, touching on good. So yeah, I think that's about it. I mostly wanted to complain a little and put all these thoughts I'm having into words, and perhaps I'm hoping this, when thoughts make their way into words and spoken language, it tends to gain an added layer of clarity. So I'm hoping this will achieve exactly that. I've been talking for 40 minutes, so I think I'm going to wrap things up here, finish up this beer, perhaps have another, and then start walking again, because yeah, it's just 4 o'clock. This has been Radu. This has been 1,000 words, well, rather close to 1,000,000 words. I hope you found something worthwhile here. All 3 of you that are still watching, thank you. Thank you. No, really, thank you. Please do share your thoughts on the matter, because I'm really interested to hear what you think of this issue. If you've gone through something like this, how you managed to get out. What do you think of all this? Do to this video all the things you need to do to the videos. You know, like, subscribe, comment down below. I'll see you next time. Ta-da.